Wright house.
We are at Taliesin West. Let's go.
Century architecture of Frank Lloyd Wright has been inscribed on the World Heritage List. That's cool. Taliesin West Trail Marker Series, inspired by the geometric trail markers along Taliesin West, many winding paths in the Sonoran Desert. Ryan McAllister paid homage to Frank Lloyd Wright's aesthetics with this collection of striking one-of-a-kind sculpture pillars. About the artist, Ryan McAllister is a Cave Creek-based artist working in metals and mixed media whose sculptures blur the lines between the functional and the decorative arts.
We're here in the gift shop. Let's check it out. Hey guys, this is a 1-hour tour, and there are 16 stops along the way. Let's check out stop number 1. Let's go.
Look for the sign that says stop number 2 and move into the shade near that stop.
Hey guys, we're at stop number 2, and we got an umbrella, and my iPad said not to back up into any cactus, because there's a lot of cactus.
There are a lot of cactuses.
A visionary architect, Frank Lloyd Wright. Today, we're going to take a journey through the ideas of Frank Lloyd Wright, the most celebrated architect of the 20th century. It's a journey through time, from the past to today, and a journey through beautiful spaces, indoors and out. My name is Nikki, and on behalf of the Frank Lloyd Wright Foundation, I'm honored to be your guide today. Let's start our journey by taking in the landscape that inspired this beautiful place. Wright's journey to the desert began in 1927. He was invited to consult on the building of the Arizona Biltmore here in Phoenix with architect Albert Chase MacArthur. It's an extraordinary site that you can still visit today. He became captivated by the desert's rugged beauty and simply had to return to Arizona. When he first saw this site, it was 10 years later, 1937. There were no roads, no buildings, no electricity, and no reliable water sources at the surface. In the winter of 1937 to 38, Wright acquired the land and sent word to the apprentices back in Wisconsin that they could now join him in building the winter camp. In a telegram to Gene Masselink, apprentice and personal secretary to Wright, he said, "Weather warm, beautiful site in hand. Come to the Jokaki Inn as soon as you are ready. Bring shovels, rakes, hose, also hose, 18 drawing boards and tools, wheelbarrow, concrete mixer, small kohler and wire, melodeon oil stoves for cooking and heating, water heater, viola, cello, rugs not in use, and whatever else we need. Wright observed the site in January and February 1938, designing Taliesin West while living here on the land. His apprentices arrived in February and immediately began construction. The apprentices lived in sheep herder tents, and the Wrights stayed in their own temporary lodging while the sun trap was made. From 1938 until Wright's death in 1959, he and his family traveled from his home, Taliesin in Wisconsin, to Taliesin West, here in Arizona, nearly every winter, and so did his apprentices, who were known as the Taliesin Fellowship. Now this was a true camp. It had no heating or air conditioning, no glass panels, no electricity. Over time, it became a place where people would live and work year-round, so glass and modern conveniences were added. As you explore today, try to imagine what it was like in those early days when it was being built. Today, we have nearly 500 acres of land, 10 acres of which we now call the historic core, and that's where you'll explore today.
Hey guys, we're gonna stop at number 4. Let's go.
Get to the next location, walk forward. That's the next stop, number 4. Be careful on the steps and watch your head as you enter the building. And take your time in the entrance as you move in. Pay particular attention to how you feel as you go through the entry. Welcome to Mr. Wright's office. The objects in this room are historic in nature and quite fragile, so please do not touch them. As you entered this space, you may have noticed that it felt a little different than when you were outside. The technique he uses in the entryway is called compression and release. Upon entering, the walls may have felt a little closer and the ceiling a little lower, and then suddenly it opens up into a larger space. Wright often used this technique of compression and release in entryways, and it's designed to focus you on moving forward through a smaller, darker space into a larger, brighter one. This happens in nature quite often, especially in forests, where you walk through trees and then come to a majestic clearing. It's a technique you'll experience again on the tour, so be on the lookout. Here in the office, Mr. Wright would meet with clients to review their projects and their designs. This space is great for looking at artwork, especially in the early morning, because of the canvas panels above you. They transform the harsh desert sun into soft, diffused light. Notice the large table in the middle of the room. It's intentionally quite low, so Mr. Wright could show drawings to clients from a bird's eye view. At the top of the table, leaning on the wall, you'll see Wright's design for the Arizona State Capitol, which he made in 1957 as a gift to the people of Arizona. When he heard that there were plans to expand the Capitol building in Phoenix, Wright offered this brand new design. It would have glass canopies, fountains, and greenery that intertwined, and a blend of interior and exterior spaces. It also included a faceted tower spire that lifted up to the heavens. And although the Capitol was never built, you can see a version of that tower here in Scottsdale, at the corner of Frank Lloyd Wright Boulevard and Scottsdale Road. You'll also notice some blueprints on the table. This drawing shows us the plan of the first level of the Archzeum, an early name for the Solomon R. Guggenheim Museum in New York. This was drawn in 1956, and the plan shows the plumbing on just a single level of the building. Look for the sign that says stop number 5.
Here's stop number 5, guys. And we can go walk that way.
Welcome to the Cabaret Fountain area. From this point, we can experience one of the key tenets of organic architecture, space. Wright designed spaces for us to inhabit, not just rooms. And he moves us through these spaces very intentionally. That's clearer from this spot than almost anywhere else on campus. Now, here's a pro tip. Whenever I enter a new space, the first thing I do is rotate and notice everything. I turn completely around so I can see all the points of view. The reason I do this is that space is three-dimensional and we're meant to see it from every angle. Every spot has multiple viewpoints, and I want to see them all.
Come on.
From this spot, we have 5 pathways or spaces to choose from. For instance, if you turn facing the mountain and look up the stairs, that's one pathway to the garden squares, where you see trees in the distance. Or, if you went up the stairs and turned right, you could go down past the drafting studio under the pergola. You could also go further to the right, walking around the wall toward the desert and head toward the pro, which we'll do in just a moment. You could also turn around and go back toward the entrance of Taliesin West, where you began your day. And there's a hidden 5th pathway around the office that takes you into the cabaret, which you'll see later. Each of these 5 pathways offers a different experience. They have different surfaces to walk on, different heights or elevations. They're made of different materials. There are different scents to take in, like flowers or orange groves, different sounds like water flowing or birds in the distance, and varying levels of shade and shadow. Each one is a different kind of space. From this position, you can also see the dramatic unfolding of the foreground, middle ground, and background. The foreground is where you're standing, here in this plaza at ground level. In the middle ground is the fountain, which is on a higher level walkway. And in the background, the McDowell Mountains frame the scene perfectly. From here, we really can see that Wright did not just design rooms. He designed all kinds of spaces. Now that you have a handle on the idea of space, it's time to move forward to our next stop. Throughout the campus, you'll see these Chinese theatrical vignettes. They were acquired in the spring of 1955 in San Francisco and are placed all around the property as clues. Architects and urban planners would call these nods. They're visual links or call-outs to connect your memories to a place. Each time you encounter a vignette, something is about to shift. In this case, we are shifting from working spaces into living spaces. There are 12 of these at Taliesin West, so keep an eye out for the rest of them. As you walk past the Chinese vignette, you step onto the Sunset Terrace. It's here that Mr. Wright instituted the practice of serving tea every day to bring the community together. This is also the site of many formal gatherings throughout the winter and spring, including the Wrights' annual Easter celebration. Beside the large red door, straight ahead, you'll notice a red tile square with Wright's signature. These tiles can be found on some of Wright's buildings where the client did not waver from the integrity of the original design. You may sit down in any of the unmarked seats, but please do not touch anything else in the room. Welcome to the garden room. As you entered, did you once again feel the compression and release? Your entry into this room required you to take a few turns, too. Wright took you on a journey, revealing spaces slowly, and then opening into a bright and uplifted room with views of the outside. Classic compression and release. This is the private living area for Wright and his family. Often, they would entertain guests, clients, and friends here. On the weekends and after formal events, he would invite apprentices into the space as well. Imagine what it was like to be in this room, bustling with people. In the middle, someone might sit at the piano and play some music. Other musicians might join them with other instruments or their voices. Over by the fireplace, someone might read a poem. And on the edges of the room, smaller conversations would be happening. This would all take place as the sun went down. From the seats, you'd have a curated view of the dazzling world outside as it changes color, and that view looks different from every single seat. This kind of evening in the garden room happens because Wright designed a space that makes it possible. We call this breaking the box. During the Victorian era, homes and buildings were designed very differently than Taliesin West. Each room had a purpose: a piano room, a drawing room used to withdraw into after dinner, and so on. Each one of these rooms was essentially a box. From here, we're headed to the dining cove, located just off the garden room. To get there, turn to face the doorway that you entered. Find the bust of Mr. Wright and walk up the stairs through the glass opening to the right of the bust. Look for the sign that says Stop Number 10. The dining cove was once a breakfast room for the Wrights and a private dining room for the family. In the 1960s, Wright's widow, Olga Vanna, used this space for special dinners with guests and the fellowship. The largest presence in the room is an 8-panel screen hanging on the wall. This is a 19th century Chinese screen called the Immortal Peaches. The faces of the people are made of porcelain, and a variety of fabrics complete the beautiful scenes. The Frank Lloyd Wright Foundation is committed to thoughtful and thorough preservation and stewardship of Taliesin in Wisconsin and Taliesin West in Arizona, and to the objects in our collections, like this screen, which was recently conserved thanks to the support of visitors and members like you. We're headed back outside. To exit, go through the doorway you entered in. Turn left and exit through another narrow glass doorway. Once you're outside, look straight ahead toward a narrow stone passageway. Head toward that. In this space, there's a beautiful orchid tree in a secluded spot with a bench. As you move through, please watch your head and step. Once you walk through the stone passageway, you'll be greeted by a hexagon-shaped pool and a fountain. Don't step in the water. Instead, walk around it and look for the sign that says Stop 11. Here we are at the Tower Pool, where Wright offers us a desert oasis, a moment of cool water. From here, we get a close-up encounter with the third tenet of organic architecture. Welcome to the Kiva. Look for the sign that says Stop 13. From this spot, you'll notice a few great features. First, to your left is the breezeway. This area not only has a great view of the city ahead, but a near constant breeze, thanks to something called the Venturi effect. This is a principle where, when liquid or air is moving along a pathway and it encounters a narrower space, it speeds up as it goes through. So, in this space with its low ceiling and narrow width, any air movement becomes a lovely breeze. This is an example of Wright's fourth principle of organic architecture, democracy. Wright believed that environments should support the goals and ideals of the individuals in the community. Everyone rotated through the work, whether it was kitchen detail, construction work, or drafting work in the studio. The Wrights believed that no work was too mundane or too trivial to be taken seriously, and that every task should be done well, whether preparing dinner, arranging flowers, or emptying the garbage. This is Wright's idea of democracy in action. Individuals coming together as a community, united in their purpose and beliefs. Before moving forward, take a look through the glass into the dining room. This is the second dining room, built to accommodate the growing Taliesin fellowship over the years. Above the glass, you'll see a cube pattern along the roofline. Wright added these cubes, called dentals, in many places to celebrate the movement of the sun in the desert. They cast shadows throughout the day that are jagged lines rather than smooth lines, just like cacti in the desert. Let's continue moving. Walk under the shaded pergola and look for the sign that says Stop 15. Once there, you can enter the drafting studio through the red doors. Welcome to the drafting studio, the heart of Taliesin West. This drafting studio was constructed from 1938 to 1941, along with the other historic core rooms. Originally, the north side of this room was open, from the vault all the way to the fireplace. Now you see doors and glass. A grand piano was often in the room, showing the importance of music to Wright. Some of these oversized plywood drafting tables are originals, and some are replacements. Notice the diffused light in this space. The canvas overhead provides filtered light on sunny days and adequate light on overcast days. The design of this space really optimizes the sun throughout the entire day. Even though the room is large and dozens of people might be working in here at once, it was often very quiet. Music or conversation was kept low so everyone could concentrate. At the far end of the room, there are 2 red doors that connect directly into the kitchen and to the original dining room. From a seated position, apprentices had a spectacular view of the desert out the windows. On top of the tables, you'll see drawings of different kinds. These are projects that were done here during the years the fellowship traveled with Wright between Wisconsin and Arizona. They worked on projects including the Guggenheim, the Marin County Civic Center in California, the Johnson Wax Tower in Wisconsin, and the Grady Gamage Auditorium in Tempe on the campus of Arizona State University.
Okay, guys, I hope you like our adventure. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe for more videos. Bye!